our support systems, and we'll get the DCO slide here in a little bit. As we talk about support systems, we're talking about the people that you've probably already identified who will be there to help you through the challenges that you face in the deployment. And these folks are critical. Maybe you think, I don't need help. I appreciate people being willing to help me, but I really don't need it. You may find times that you truly do. I'm going to share one of my wife's stories here again. As I mentioned, we have 3 boys we adopted. Our middle son, Ethan, is a young man who's had, we did a little bit of math, we figured about 1,800 seizures over the last 4 years. And these seizures, he's had other issues, other learning developments, other, kind of like ODD and other problems that have accompanied that as well. So there's times that Ethan can be a real handful and a real difficult challenge. And so when I went to Kosovo, my wife was dealing with that in addition to all the other responsibilities and things at home. And it was his regular schedule to go up to a clinic that I'll leave unnamed. And she took him to the clinic for his appointment. And during the course of the appointment, he got to doing better. He typically has these cycles where he'll have seizures, and then he'll have days with no seizures. And he had a lot of seizures when they first got there, and then he went into a no-seizure cycle. So my wife needed to come home. We had 6 other kids at home and needed to come back and take care of things at home. And the clinic there said, no, you can't take him. He said, you can go home if you want, but he has to stay here. And she said, no way, we're not going to do that. He's going to come, home with me. They said, well, you can take him, but we could charge you for medical neglect and child abuse. And so when my wife told me this, I got rather spun up at the MOPE station as we were getting ready to deploy. And so I called the doctor and I said, this isn't going to work. We're not going to respond to intimidation. And he hadn't been the one that said those words, but he said, oh, we'll take care of it. No problem at all. And so the next day she went home with Ethan. Well, the following day we had a knock at the door, and it was a social worker, and we had charges filed against us for medical neglect and child abuse. And so you can imagine my wife, who's taking care of all these responsibilities, having that in addition piled onto her. If it hadn't been for some of our support system, namely our church family and our church friends that were there for her, I don't know how she would have made it. But, like you see the list in front of you, family members, your friends, maybe church or work associates, military family life consultants, even in terms of your rear detachment, when you have an issue that's really a challenge. It's just finding those people that will help you with the challenges that you face. It's important to identify them ahead of time rather than letting something overwhelm you and trying to catch up from there. So I just wanted to say a word about that. And maybe you can share with us who are some of the people you have found that are those go-to people for you. I'd invite some feedback at this point. Did I lull everyone to sleep with my voice? That happens in church a lot.
They got them all covered.
Actually, yeah.
Well, with my 10-minute time limit, you can easily wait me out here, so I'll continue on. But let me encourage you to find those folks that will be your support system and list them. Write them down, put it next to your phone so that when the hot water heater goes out, you don't have to try to think about who it is. You can go and you can give them a call, and they'll be there ready to help you. All right, next slide, please. Actually, my last slide, just wanted to mention the importance of having some fun. And you'd say, well, how can we have fun during the deployment with the issues that it creates? And it may be different than you have fun as a family when everyone's together, but there are still opportunities. There can be some aspects to a deployment that can be enjoyable. And I want you to capitalize on those. Find those and take advantage of those times. And it's important that you choose wisely, ways to encourage yourself, ways to, build yourself up. Because many of the problems we run into are when folks are feeling sad, and lonely and decide to go to the bar. Just turns into a bad combination many times. And I've dealt with soldiers on the other side of the ocean that have had issues, with family members back home that have made some choices that really weren't the wisest. And so I encourage you. You'll need some time to blow off steam and to kind of enjoy yourself, but choose and make your choices wisely and intentionally, and plan to have some fun as well. And we're looking forward to trying to offer a few retreats throughout the course of the year at places like the Adventureland Resort or Kings Point or those kind of indoor resort places where you can come with the kids and come and get some training, but also have some time for fun and recreation as well. And we'll share more of that information as we get those things together. I've talked pretty rapidly here, and if you have some questions, we'll sure welcome those now, or as we kind of trade out here in Tangent Talks a little while. If you want to share some questions at the end, you're welcome to do so. But I'll just pause for a breath and to give you a chance if you have any questions. I'd forgotten I had this slide as well. The goals are truly a military family. You don't have to take it quite that far to be a happy military family. But they have six kids, all in the military, Air Force and Army. And yours can be a happy military family, even if you don't take it to that extreme. Any questions that we could take at this point, or things that you have found to be helpful in establishing your new normal?
I have a question. I understand that there were about 10 members that returned, and there seems to be some frustration as to why they're still there and they're not back with their unit in Mississippi. And I just wondered if there was any information about that.
Okay, this is Sarah Rothman. We have a few soldiers, and I don't have the list right in front of me, but I know we've got quite a few soldiers that have been sent home for what's called refrad issues. They're divided by company, so if you have specific questions about your soldier, if they're going to be going back, that type of thing, best thing to do is actually to speak with your soldier. All of the people who've come back, as far as we know, it's for medical related reasons. Some of them may have their medical issues addressed in time to get back with the company at NTC, but chances are slim of that, as I understand it. They've been put back on refrad, which basically means they're being incorporated back into the rear detachment at this time. So if you have a soldier you think is affected by that, the best thing to do is actually to check directly with your soldier or with your company FRG, and hopefully they can help find out additional information. Does that address your question?
Well, basically, but in our case, our soldier doesn't really know what's going on. I mean, himself.
Okay.
And I'm sure he's very frustrated, and so are we because of him. So.
All right. What I'm going to recommend is that you actually go ahead and contact your unit's FRG directly and see if they can help get some answers for you.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Print that list.
Thank you.
Ma'am, this is Captain Tronquil. You can either contact through the FRG or go directly to the unit. If it's medical information, we can't share that because it's private to the soldier. But most likely it was a medical issue. So, and it'll be included in his medical file, which once it gets returned back to Iowa, we can get access to it too. But there should be some information that he has gotten, and if it's like a mental health issue, they've been required to set up appointments, and that's being handled through the company to get them appointments set up through the medical center in Des Moines. And if it's a physical health issue,
It's not our paperwork that got mixed up.
that's a deal with the soldier. If it wasn't a pre-existing condition from a prior deployment, most likely the soldier's going to have to pay that out of pocket or through their private insurance.
I don't think that
But we
is,
should be able to
anybody
access
down
the
there or
records
not.
and find
Do you
out
have
for sure why your
access?
soldier
Like,
is
there's another
reprinted.
soldier
But
in
it's,
Strawberry Point,
again, that's not
and
information
she must
we
have
can
been
give
assigned
to a
based on where
parent.
she was
It
going
has
to
to go
college,
to the soldier.
and she hasn't heard anything from her family from
Okay.
the FRG. Do you have that kind of information?
I can probably get it
Or do
for
I just
whatever
start?
unit.
Did anyone have any questions for
Somewhere
Chaplain
here.
Crawford?
What?
Who's the family?
Reed, R-E-E.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and turn it on over to Tanja
When we're
Duffy.
done.
Caitlin, it's a female soldier.
When we're done, then we'll write it down and we'll see if we can
Okay.
Good
find out
afternoon,
who it's supposed to
everyone.
be.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be able to speak with all of you and kind of building on what Chaplain was just talking about. You know, we are really working very hard to provide many resources of support for families out there. And one of the things that has happened as the deployment has commenced and the soldiers have been away now for a while, we're starting to see some reactions. And so I wanted to just very briefly address some of those reactions that a lot of families might be experiencing, especially with their children. I have been working quite frequently with children these days, which I love and enjoy. And so I'm inviting families to continue to contact your MFLACs, either myself or David Brown, to work with you and or your children. And we will all work together as a team to get through this whole deployment cycle. I'm going to post up a few brief slides. First of all, just again very briefly, we're going to take a look at some of the issues that children might be experiencing, starting with some of our younger children. Here, when we are dealing with smaller kids, we might see some behaviors in reaction to the deployment, such as regression, which means the kid's going backwards in terms of their developmental stages. So it wouldn't be surprising to find a kid who's stressed out to return to bedwetting or having some accidents during the day. Some children start talking like babies because they know that if they talk like a baby, they will get more attention and nurturing and comfort, which is basically what they're asking for. Sometimes they'll want a bottle or a pacifier or start sucking their thumb again. So what I'm going to stress continuously through these slides, these are all pretty much normal reactions to stress. And if you're taking what Chaplain talked about into consideration, doing some of those coping strategies that he talked about, you'll be able to minimize some of these reactions. Sometimes kids will get anxious and fearful. They don't understand what's going on. They're going to be more clingy. It reminds me of the days when I would drop my children off at daycare and I'd have one child on one leg and one child on the other screaming, "Don't go, don't go." Made for going to work very difficult. But I learned quickly that I had to let go because I had to go to work. And that's a very difficult thing for us to do when we're feeling badly and we're feeling stressed because of the deployment. And then conversely, you go at night to pick up your children and they don't want to come home with you, which again is going to stab you in the heart. But again, normal behaviors, and we just have to react very calmly and coolly when we are dealing with these behaviors. Kids are crying, they're sad. And so I'm encouraging crying, but if the child has not stopped crying for about 2 weeks, I would suggest you give me a call. And a lot of kids are starting to become irritable. I have seen some little boys, they are going to be a little bit more aggressive and acting out more, a lot of physical, he's touching me, she's touching me, or they're poking or hitting or kicking or biting or whatever.
That happened
Again,
before the
normal.
deployment.
And sometimes kids are going to eat more, eat less. They're going to sleep more, sleep less. Again, we need to be aware of these behaviors and we need to keep an eye on them. And if they continue and it's interfering with everybody's functioning during the course of a day, then it's time to seek some help.